Hi, welcome to our last lesson, Lesson 7. Today we are wrapping up Chapter 6 in your textbook as we continue to discuss how to argue one's position. A while back, I mentioned that your first opportunity to make a strong first impression started with the introduction of your essay, but that isn't quite true. Many students overlook the importance of their paper's title. Your title is like the eye-catching packaging used by marketers to sell a product. Think about the last time you took a stroll down the cereal aisle. What colors, fonts, animals, or collaborations did you see used to grab your attention? In the same way, your title should seek to attract your readers. You never want to label your essay using the assignment title like the Arguing a Position essay unless you encounter a professor who has instructed you to do so. You also don't want to oversimplify your essay by simply revealing the subject of your essay. For example, if you think back on the Explain a Concept essay, simply titling your paper Hope is neither interesting nor creative. For this assignment specifically, really take the time to put thought into your title. This may mean that your title ends up being longer than usual. Over the course of the semester, I've talked about introductions a few times. In this week's lesson, I've attached a link from the University of Maryland's Effective Writing Center that explores 7 different hooks that you can include in your introduction. I think this is an especially helpful link because each hook is related to the same topic, which is smoking. For example, one essay about smoking might start off by giving a brief history about how smoking has changed over the years. Another might address how smoking affects a person's mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. Another essay might offer an interesting anecdote from a child of a smoker. Although you are currently writing your last essay for this class, I encourage you to write down these 7 different strategies and practice each one as you finish your time here at CCBC and even beyond. We grow as writers when we try new approaches because they allow us to learn what works best for us, whether we are working on a college essay, a blog, a speech, or a letter. Another component you should cover in your introduction is the problem that you will be addressing or taking a position on. As mentioned in Lesson 6, your first priority should be to create interest around your topic. If your readers don't care about your subject, how can you ever expect them to take your side on an issue? We should never assume that the issues that seem serious to us will be taken seriously by those around us. It definitely takes a skilled writer to inspire empathy in others. We see this on social media all the time. At this point in the class, hopefully you're well aware that your thesis statement should appear at the end of your introduction. Again, for this assignment, your thesis should include your position and it should forecast your 3 major claims. If you're still finding it difficult to construct a strong thesis, I encourage you to re-watch the video by Al Purdue that I've linked in this lesson on this very subject. But know that I will be reviewing your thesis statements from your outlines to make certain that you're on the right track. As you are revising your Arguing a Position draft, I also suggest that you have the meal handout available and that you double check that every body paragraph begins with a topic sentence that reveals the paragraph's main idea. Remember, there can only be one main idea per paragraph. Are you sick of me saying this yet? And this essay is also unique because it's the first time that you're required to use outside sources. As I mentioned in the last lesson, make sure that your sources are credible and logical. On pages 752 through 754 in your textbook, Axelrod and Cooper, address how to evaluate outside sources, and you might find these few pages helpful. It's obviously important to recognize that if you aren't using credible sources, your readers will be unlikely to trust your judgment as a whole, and again, you must never assume that your audience will understand how your evidence relates to or supports your argument. You must analyze or show your readers how your evidence reinforces your position. To give you a specific example of what your evidence and analysis should look like, I've included 2 quotes from Jessica Statsky's essay called Children Need to Play, Not Compete. Let's first look at Statsky's evidence. She states, according to Dr. Glenn C. Roberts, a professor at of Kinesiology at the Institute of Child Behavior and Development at the University of Illinois, 80 to 90% of children who play competitive sports at a young age drop out by 16. First, I want to point out that Statsky includes her source's full name. You should do this the very first time you introduce a source. If you use that same source again, simply refer to the author by their last name only. One way that Statsky goes above and beyond in this particular example is that she establishes her source's credibility for her readers. They don't have to look up who Dr. Glenn C. Roberts is. Statsky is willing to provide that information for them. This won't always be necessary, but you should think about whether or not it would be beneficial to provide a little background on the author that you'll be citing. All it takes is a simple Google search to find a short biography these days. Finally, Statsky uses a statistic to serve as her evidence. Again, the type of evidence you provide will depend on the type of argument that you'll be making. Moving on, let's now look at Statsky's analysis. She states, "This statistic illustrates another reason I oppose competitive sports for children. Because they are so highly selective, very few children get to participate." The key word in this example is the word illustrates. Again, analysis is the writer's explanation of how the evidence proves the position or claim. For all we know, there are a million reasons why 80 to 90% of children stop playing competitive sports. It could be that they simply grew out of it. Maybe they found a more fulfilling hobby. Maybe they no longer have time. But we don't have to wonder why, or at least we don't have to question why Statsky includes this information. She clearly tells us that she's using this statistic to show us that a competitive sport selectivity prevents all children from participating, and if a child is benched over and over again, eventually they could want to leave the team. The only thing that I would critique here is Statsky's use of first person. Remember, you should be using third person for this essay. Your readers will know that these are your opinions because your name is on the title page. This sentence could easily be revised to read, "This statistic illustrates another reason why competitive sports are harmful for children because they are so highly selective." Before ending our very last lesson, I just want to remind you how important your conclusion is. This is where you restate your thesis, but even more importantly, this is where you address the larger significance of your topic by answering the so what question. You want to give your readers something to chew on long after they finish reading your essay. You want to leave a lasting impression. And that's all we have. It's been a pleasure to be your teacher, and I can't wait to read your final essays. God bless you guys, and happy writing.